Well, thank you very much anyway, Hannah, for inviting me along to this. I'm just going to talk very briefly. I'm sure you'll be happy to know, unless you're all starving for lunch and getting a bit tired after a long morning. But I'm here to talk about the Operation Nightingale projects, which I have been involved with as a, let me just see if this works. There we go, brilliant. I'm talking about the archaeology within the military veteran community, the benefits of targeted programs of archaeology for participants in Operation Nightingale projects. My role and who I am is I work as one of the historic environment team archaeologists for the Defence Infrastructure Organisation. You probably never have heard of the Defence Infrastructure Organisation, so you're better off thinking of it as a Ministry of Defence. What we do is we basically, we are a layer within the Ministry of Defence that helps training and ensures that military training is able to go ahead on the training ranges. And as part of that, I'm an archaeology advisor. I'm one of 6 in our historic environment team. We have 2 historic buildings experts and 4 archaeologists, and we cover everything that the MOD has in the UK. And as one of the largest landowners, I think the MOD currently owns 1.8% of the UK, so we certainly have our work cut out for us. However, I'm not talking about that today. What I am talking about is Operation Nightingale, which is a series of programs, archaeological work, that we basically involved veterans in field work. These are programs that we set up within the Ministry of Defence, on Ministry of Defence land. And this talk really is just going to go through a couple of the sites, talk about some of the benefits that the people, the participants get from this work, and also some of the outcomes that we're hoping to gain from pushing this forward. This is a program of works that has been around since about 2011. It was set up by my now boss, Richard Osgood. He is the lead archaeology advisor at DIO, and he set up Op Nightingale a long time ago. It's really to get veterans involved in archaeology. One of the success stories in particular, this photograph here on the right-hand side, is of Dickie Bennett, who's an ex-sergeant in the Royal Marines. Was kind of casting around for something to do after he'd finished his military service. He came along to a Operation Nightingale project, and then from the back of that, he set up what was called Breaking Ground Heritage. It's a business that now helps veterans find the work through Op Nightingale projects, and basically he is creating a database of information of veterans that are coming through this work. I'm going to talk more about that later on, but he's doing fantastic work, and this is all off the back of literally trotting up to an archaeological site one afternoon. So the first site I'm going to talk about is a place called Barrow Clump. Now, I haven't personally been involved in this one. This one has been run by Richard, my boss. It's down in Wiltshire, and it was excavated to protect it from badgers, because one of the things that we do as the MOD advisors is we look after the heritage at risk. We try to reduce the holdings that we have across the MOD from getting damage and from keeping it sustainable, really. And so one of the projects was this scheduled monument to Barrow Clump. It was excavated as part of the heritage at risk reduction. And the photograph here, the reason I'm talking about this one in particular is because it's actually quite a spectacular site, and I'm saying this through gritted teeth as an archaeologist of 20 years. The chap on the left is Kenny, Rowan Kendrick. He's ex-Rifles, and he worked out at Barrow Clump for a few seasons as part of this heritage at risk reduction work. And during that time, he found the object on the right-hand side, which is a Saxon wooden bucket. And as you can see from the photograph, it's in fantastic condition. And I say I'm gritting my teeth because I've been an archaeologist for 20 years and I've never found anything as nice as this. He literally comes onto site and stumbles across these kind of amazing artifacts. This is also now housed in the British Museum. So, it's beyond, like I say, beyond anything that I've ever found. I've been doing this, and I like Kenny, but I do have to say this through gritted teeth with him. Barrow Clump was excavated by veterans, and interestingly, it's a warrior burial site from basically the 6th century. So we're talking Anglo-Saxon warriors, and these were all dug by veteran volunteers. Most of them had little or no experience from an archaeological point of view, and it's interesting in that they were excavating historic warriors. And this is one of the graves with the sword and a spear and a shield boss. And we basically have modern day warriors who have gone through combat situations who are excavating these historic warrior graves. It's a real nice unbroken link between the past and the present. Maybe just talk a little bit more. These are over here. This is the excavations at Cataract Garrison. I'm kind of speeding through this just because I'm realising how little time I do have. These are the excavations that I was involved with up at Cataract Garrison, where we were excavating First World War stables. And again, this used veterans drawn through Help for Heroes. It created a huge amount of interest just within the local area anyway. And it also featured on the Channel 5 Digging Up Britain's Past programme. They actually came out and made a specific documentary about this. This is allowing for the local veterans in Cataract to engage directly with their local history and their archaeology, just from being involved with us for 2 weeks. And, a couple of them said, I've been wanting to do this all my life, and this has really given me a chance. It's really good community archaeology work that is allowing people who wouldn't normally get involved with archaeology to actually get on the ground and shift some soil about and do some work, really, and just, get involved with, as I say, their local history and their local archaeology. And on a similar theme over here at Barrybudden, this is up in Scotland on one of the training ranges. This is excavations on First World War practice trenches. You may have spotted a bit of a theme. Most of us at the Ministry of Defence, the DIO, are actually interested in military history and military archaeology. So we do set these programs up around, I suppose, our interests. And this is this is First World War training trenches up at Barrybudden. These were excavated again by veterans. These were all overseen by professional archaeologists, who you can see on the photo on the left. You can tell they're the professional archaeologists because they're the ones that aren't doing any work. But the veterans are also included at every stage of archaeological recording as well. So they're given transferable and vocational skills whilst on site. So you can see all the guys on the right-hand side there and the photos are all doing archaeological recording and are being taught these skills whilst they're actually working as well. So it's not just about them coming on site and shifting mud. But we don't just stay in Britain. We actually work overseas as well, in France on First World War sites. Again, this one, another site. This one is run by Richard again, and I work out there with them as the archaeology supervisor on site. And this is a First World War battlefield site. It was excavated again with pretty much a full team of veterans. As part of this work, they are overcoming obstacles from mental health issues and also from physical injuries. This is one of the reasons that they're on a Operation Nightingale project, is because they have been signposted towards archaeology as a pathway towards recovery. I'll come back to this in a little bit. But it helps with team working, with attention to detail, and all these things have been almost proven really by archaeological work, and it really helps with people suffering from, for instance, PTSD. I'm just going to say really the reason we were working in Bullecore, because I can never do a slideshow without putting up at least one picture of a tank. And this is the tank 796. It was knocked out during the Battle of Bullecore in April of 1917. Commanded by Lieutenant Skinner, was a part of an Australian attack, and we went looking for this as part of the project with Operation Nightingale in France. And as luck would have it, we found 6 foot of tank track. You can see it here on the left-hand side. This is it in situ. So not only are we doing work with veterans? We're actually turning up some fantastic archaeology. And the reason I put this photograph up is because the tank track retained some of its original paint. And tanks from the First World War have been repainted several times, especially the ones in museums. So nobody really knows what the original paint schemes of these things were. This was analysed by our site photographer, Harvey, sorry, his name just went out of my head for a second, and he got it down to the actual Pantone of the paint, and it's Pantone 560C, which, as I'm sure you're all well aware, is almost close to British Racing Green. Now, these tanks did no faster than about 4 miles an hour on good going. So I'm not entirely sure what they were trying to prove by painting these things British Racing Green. It's just an interesting and comical aside to the work that we'd carried out whilst on this site. But it was a truly international veteran association, really, this particular site, a Bullecourt. The photographs on the right-hand side are all the different people who were involved. And on the left-hand side is we had a couple of unexpected consequences of this excavation, one of which we found 3 remains of German soldiers, which we excavated. You can see one of them housed in the small box by the feet of the people in the photo. And we had a German veteran who joined us on site and was also instrumental in lifting these German remains. And he was able to give a speech in German and also a toast to a modern German army toast to fallen comrades. And it was quite something to see. A lot of the veterans were actually very moved by this. You know, we're talking about combatants from 100 years ago, and, you know, it's still affecting people of today. And a lot of those guys are people who have lost friends and comrades in combat as well. And I say, you know, the reason we set up, one of the main reasons we set up Operation Nightingale, or Richard set up Operation Nightingale, is really, it's about well-being and helping in pathways of recovery for the participants. These are people who are suffering from very, very major mental health issues and physical injuries. And archaeology is really, really good in helping people get to a point of recovery. There are lots of them are going through recovery programs. And Breaking Ground Heritage in particular has been collecting a lot of information and data by giving out questionnaires to the participants when they start the project, and then also again at the end of the project and partway through, and they fill these tick boxes in. And I've drawn out a couple of examples here, just of some of the ideas, the feelings that they get. So we've got feelings of isolation, the feelings of being valued, and you can see, I'm not going to go through these in great detail, but you can see even just from this very, very small subsample that although, you know, this is not a cure, it's not a cure-all, there are improvements over the project, before the project and after the project. There's quite a difference in people's feelings of isolation, to people's feelings of being valued. And this is really what this is about. As I say, it's not a cure-all, but it is part of a very complex and long-term pathway of recovery for these people. And I think I'll probably just come up just over my 10 minutes there. So I'm going to wrap up there really with that. And as I say, that's as much as I'm going to say about Operation Nightingale. So I'm more than happy now to answer questions on this. I think if there are questions.
Thank you so much. I'm going to mute you while I ask my question because I don't have my headphones anymore. First of all, of course, Operation Nightingale is always something that's talked about for archaeologists and heritage practitioners who are looking to find how heritage and archaeology can be involved in well-being. And obviously, you did say that this is the Ministry of Defense that has organized this, and it has clear results And I'm wondering how whether it's considered a project or something that's more long-term and sustainable, but where this can possibly go for future recognition, that actually working with volunteers in archaeology is something that actually has a lot of value.
Yeah, it's a good question. What I forgot to mention actually is Bob Nightingale not only helps while people are on site, and you saw the results there, that the mental well-being is far more increased than when they start. How we've also had quite a few success stories, and there's been, I think, at least 3 or 4 of the veterans have actually gone on to university and are now working in commercial archaeology as professional archaeologists, literally from coming on Operation Nightingale projects. So obviously, not a lot of the people who are volunteers are wanting to go on to work in archaeology, but the ones that do are picking up, initial skills to be able to join that larger archaeology workforce, I suppose. So we are the first step in recovery, definitely, when it comes to people getting on board with things. It's very much so, they'll come to an Op Nightingale project. Afterwards, they generally go back to veterans associations. They do lots of different things with those as well. But Breaking Ground Heritage, and Dickie in particular, is very, very good at staying in touch with the veterans who have gone through Op Nightingale projects and signposting for them opportunities in the future, be that more volunteer work or, as we say, going on to university. I think he's actually set up, I think it's with Winchester University, has set up a bursary scheme that Op Nightingale participants can take advantage of, so they can take the initial interest that they have on site, and they can actually take it further into an academic role as well. Dickie Bennett himself is a perfect example of that. As I say, rocked up to a Op Nightingale project, ends up now he runs Breaking Ground Heritage. He's absolutely swamped with work. He's looking at doing a PhD in this, and this is a guy. And he said this to me, 10 years ago, he wouldn't even see himself walking into a university. And now, he's looking at doing PhDs and things. So there is that, there is that, we can only offer so much as a team, as a head team anyway, within the MOD. But we also try to push people on beyond what we can do. If that answers your question.
Yeah, it did, and thank you so much for coming on and sharing. I think it's such a positive note to leave on. I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's joined us, panelists and attendees alike. And once again, a massive thank you to everyone who's helped pull this together through their contribution, and to all our participants. So thank you very much.